Jack, would you please
Bert,
reply?
we've all been down in Old Bowie. We were down there last Friday night. You're not doing anything that a lot of other people, a lot of citizens aren't doing as well. I think to publish a piece of campaign literature that in essence describes Bowie as a city under siege does the city a great injustice. As Mayor Loeb pointed out, in this district, our police calls over the past year dropped by 15%. Commercial burglaries dropped by 20%, residential burglaries by 16%. The incidence of guns in school is a frightening situation, but we are no different than Fairfax County and Montgomery County, virtually the same number of incidents. This is a problem that isn't unique to Bowie, and it isn't, as you say, an issue that has been ignored by any form whatsoever. The City Council has met with Larry Shanks, the commander of this district, frequently, often. I have personal contacts with him. He is certainly on top of the process. We have also met with the principal of the high school, John Hagan. The program that the Prince George's County school system has put into effect, we hope will be effective. It won't necessarily guarantee that we're not going to have more incidents.
So you recognize the problem's there. I just happen to identify it, and I happen to get it to the attention so people can take action on it.
It wasn't as a result. It wasn't as a result of your bringing it to anyone's attention, Bert. It was.
I'd like to hear what Mr. Violante has to say on the subject. I know he's not biting at the bit, but let's.
Yeah.
And what would you do if this is true? What would you do to fix it?
Well, let me first address the question with regards to crime in the school. I had the opportunity on Wednesday to speak to 2 classes at Bowie High School. And while even one incident is one too many, they were kind of concerned about the media publicity they received, and that it doesn't paint a clear picture of what's going on. As Jack mentioned, PG County is not much different than what's going on in Northern Virginia and Montgomery County, yet we're getting the picture painted very darkly over here. I think what can be done and what should be done is community involvement. It happened 10 to 12 years ago in the community when there was a rash of students killed due to drunk driving. I think the same can be done now to correct this problem. Educate the children, let them know that weapons will not be tolerated in the school, and I think the community can get a grip on this situation.
Mr. Ailshire? Mr. Ailshire?
I'd like to add, that new program is called SAFE, and which looks at a safer environment in the school. And I have to agree that I think one other element should be added in there, and that is the community to help advise in the situation. I mean, to encourage posters, to encourage input from the kids. I think the community should be added to Operation SAFE in these schools.
Mr. Paget, we're going to end it with Mr. Paget.
Yeah.
I think we've beat it.
I hear what you're saying, Bert. You're not my opponent, but your literature was a little bit scary, and I'm from Anacostia, and it almost sounded like I don't know. I don't believe that you authored that, because it didn't sound like you were telling the truth. But it paints a scary picture, and there are a lot of people. We have evidence of people who are coming to Bowie to shop in our shopping centers here in Bowie because it's safer here in Bowie.
Absolutely. And I want them to continue to shop, not continue on to the happen.
That's exactly right. But when you come out and say we've got some sort of massive crisis going on, or that's the way it reads very clearly.
People are scared. Then, I'm sorry if you're out of touch, Mr. Paget. People are concerned.
Boy, I am not out of touch.
You are very out of touch.
No. Do you think Bowie is in some sort of a crime wave?
Do I think Bowie's in some sort of crime rave?
Yes.
Bowie is an oasis in a county that's at war. I will state that. However, people are concerned. Senior citizens are concerned. I know of a senior citizen that was abducted at Marketplace and taken around to crack houses in Washington, D.C., and then he was dumped off Route 50. How out of touch you are, Mr. Paget.
I agree. Mr. Robinson, can we bring some...
This town is a safe town. It is a quality town, and it's safe because there are hundreds and hundreds of people in this town. When these things happen, come forward and they demand a change. The incidents at the school were serious, but they are newsworthy because they are an aberration. And look at how those problems were resolved. The students came forward, and the faculty jumped on that, and that problem was resolved. I think the analogy about some of the work that the Sextons and family did in this community on drunk drivers work is great. I think we could, you've got a ready supply of dedicated, intelligent students at that school, and if you could harness the enthusiasm that gave you mad and sad and focus that on these kind of things, I think you've got a winner there. But to characterize the city as dangerous or
People are concerned, Mr. Robinson. Go to Old Bowie. You're out of touch.
Mr. Nassau,
I'm not
difference
Mr.
between being
Nassowitz is up
concerned
there. I'm Richard
and-
Dahms.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize, Mr. Nassowitz. There's a difference between being concerned and making a rational,
Well, Mr.
intelligent
Robinson,
response to that. There's a wholly difference in trying to be an alarmist and trying to turn an issue like this for a partisan political interest.
Mr. Robinson.
And that's what I resent, because that's
Partisan?
Yeah.
Partisan?
Yeah.
Mr. Trigger's going to have the last word in this,
Okay,
this
thank you.
this
Thank you,
debate.
Dave.
Okay.
I think it's time for the parents of this community to get involved with their kids, because we have had 14-year-old children in our neighborhood on Halloween night, 5 guns, loaded guns. They were threatening small children. I don't think we're at the panic stage, but I think the parents need to get involved with their own children to disquiet this and curtail it.
Thank you. Al?
The next question, gentlemen, is going to be one where you're all going to answer the same way, but I'm looking for something, what we should do about it. Some kind of, well, let me put it this way. What, if any, can the mayor and council do to get all Bowie students back to neighborhood schools, especially those bused out of the city from those areas south of Route 50? Now, I don't expect you all to say, I'm against busing, I'm for neighborhood schools. We know that. We've heard you before, and anyone who lives in Bowie takes a position other than that is crazy. What I'd like to know is, what can you do about it, if anything? We'll start this way.
Okay? I believe that we need to communicate with our county and state leaders in a lot of areas, especially in the school area. Those are the people that make those rules, that govern our schools. We have no input into them other than small things which we can do in terms of grants for paper, supplies, and that sort of thing. But we have to communicate our concerns and our desires to our county and state officials.
I would recommend to the mayor and council that we develop a task force. And the task force would be to work with local, county, and other leadership in the state, like Jim said, but to develop a strategy that would be effective in going to Judge Kaufman and getting him to revisit that decision. But not try to reinvent the wheel, but actually get demographics and racial mix and get all the facts together and get input from many different organizations before they go to Judge Kaufman. There's many people working already, but they're not working in a effort that's, I think, on the same track, which would be firm and more strong. We all agree that this is affecting our schools and education a great deal, because neighborhood schools seem to have the quality that we were born and raised in. And that's the only thing that we can hope to return to is that.
Okay, thank you, Burton. Oliver, by the way, I try to call you by your names because that's what
Yeah.
politicians really need. In your case, I pointed to you, so I mention your name now. William Alshire?
We have to realize that this is a civil case that's being held by a judge who's retired. He is only going to listen to the plaintiff or the defendant. Is the only way that he's going to open this case up. I mean, I've written my letter to him. Hopefully he's read it, digested it. I hope he didn't, and maybe filed it other than another file somewhere. We have to look at that we have to do something either on the plaintiff side or the defendant side. As I indicated on our last get-together as candidates, we started the grassroots. The Bowie Civic Association had started at the grassroots. Getting the folks here together and asking them what they want to do. Then we have to use that group to go to the next group all throughout this county. We have to have each of these groups have to let us know that this is what they want to do. I've got a feeling that they want to stop busing. Once they do that, then they can go to the school board or to the plaintiff or the defendant in that case, and then we can move ahead. But 19 years, it's time that we have to stop this.
Okay, Fred, we're going to skip you. We all know your position in this, and you don't have an opponent, so we want to get some stir up something different.